parts of our stories that can be used to bring hope to others. When I became a single mother to my 3 little boys, I felt so alone and so afraid. And I never in a million years would have guessed that 10 years later, I'll be standing here today getting to share with you about some of the exciting things that I get to do. She Helps was founded in 2016, and we are currently working in India, Kenya, and Rwanda. When we go on a trip, our #1 job is to listen to the stories, to the needs and the issues and the fears facing the women and girls that we meet. And we have found 3 basic needs that are affecting our sisters around the world today. The need for safety, the need for job training, and the need for education. So we partner with local people on the ground in those communities, and we come alongside them and we teach them self-defense, we provide job training, and we keep girls in school. 1 out of every 3 of the women and girls around the world is the victim of violence. We don't teach women to go home and beat up their husbands for fun. We don't teach girls to go pick a fight in the dark alley, but what we do is to teach them simple ways to open up a window of escape so that they can run away to safety if they are ever in a dangerous situation. And this is very close to my heart because I am also the 1 in 3. So when I get to share my story with them, then I can look them in the eyes and tell them, you are not alone. These girls know firsthand the risk and the dangers involved just in being a girl. The week before our visit, a little 3rd grader was attacked and raped by a group of men in that forest as she walked to school. These girls know that it is a matter of life and death. In 3 years, we have taught over 4,000 women and girls self-defense. But we found that the most important part of self-defense training is not actually the self-defense skills. It is teaching them that they have permission to fight back. It is teaching them that they have value, they are loved, they are seen, and they are worth fighting for. We also provide job training. We meet women who are married off as child brides. We meet women who didn't get to finish their education. And we meet women who had to become single mothers, just like I did. But the big difference is that I never had to look at the faces of my 3 little boys and wonder which one of them I'm going to have to sell in order to put food on the table for the rest of my family. Because of that, we started free sewing classes in southern India where women can come and learn how to sew, and then when they are finished with our course, they go on to create their own little businesses. We are raising an army of entrepreneurs in Madurai, India. We also work with Stella, a seamstress in Kenya. She has a shop in a market in Kenya that is made out of shipping containers. And Stella and the young women that she employs in her shop make our She Helps crossbody bags. And I've seen a few of them in the audience today. Thank you so much, ladies, for bringing those. We bring those purses back home and sell them and put the proceeds back into the girls of East Africa. Because did you know that there are 15 million girls around the world today who are not in school? There are many factors involved with why girls are not in school today. But here are a few of the reasons. And we have found the #1 reason in the girls that we meet, the #1 reason they're not in school is because of that last item on the list. It's because of something they cannot control, something that comes from Mother Nature. It is because they are a girl. So we work with local seamstresses to make washable, reusable sanitary supplies so that the girls can go to school. We work with teachers and the educators to identify the girls most in need, and we give them all of the sanitary supplies that they will need so they can stay in school. It is our hope that by teaching girls and women around the world that they can be their own hero of their own story, that they in turn will spark hope in others. And that flame of hope will grow and grow and grow, and just maybe, and hopefully, the world will never be the same. Thank you.
An amazing story, right here in Wichita, Kansas. Okay, now it's up to you. There's 2 microphones. We'll check and make sure that they're turned on. And let's ask some questions and start a dialogue.
So Ginger, I know there are loads of stories and you've experienced a lot of things as you've traveled. Is there any story that really marks you above any other?
The one thing that sticks out in particular was on my first trip to India. We work with an orphanage there in southern India, and we work closely with the family that runs it. And I had heard about a family in the community that had just had another little girl. And they already had little girls in the orphanage because they could not provide for their family. And so when I got to India, I learned that this mother was trying to sell her baby girl. And when I learned that, the mommy rage in me roared. I thought, how could you? But then I met the mother. She came to where we were meeting one day. She came to see her other daughters who were living in the orphanage. And she handed me that baby girl. And as that baby girl nuzzled against my neck, and I looked into that mother's eyes, and that mother asked me in Tamil through an interpreter to take her home with me and give her a better life in America. One of the hardest things that I had ever had to do was to hand that baby back, knowing that I could not bring her home. But we worked with the family there in India because we wanted to make sure that that baby was kept safe, that that family was okay. So we worked with the family to employ one of the older daughters as a housemaid to help earn money. That family took them groceries from us, and we wanted to make a way that this family did not have to resort to selling that baby girl. So when I looked into that mother's eyes, I realized in that moment that the devastating decision to sell one of your children to provide for the rest of the family was actually the most loving thing she could do. So that is just one of the stories that sticks out most to me.
Okay, you're gonna have us all here in tears. I appreciate knowing you, Ginger, and learning about this. Did you start this, or how did you get involved, and how big is this organization? Because you're the first one that's brought awareness, at least to me, about this, and I think it's a fabulous, unbelievable journey you're on.
Thank you so much. I did start, I founded She Hopes. We are right now currently under the umbrella of a local church here in Wichita, Restoration Church, because the pastors of that church, are the ones who had the initial contacts in India, in Kenya, in Rwanda. But since 2016, we have outgrown them. And so they are lovingly and supportively helping us come out from under that umbrella. And we are currently in the process of developing our own 501c3. And as She Hopes, even though we are under the umbrella of a church, we are a non-religious organization because we want to go into the places where churches and missionaries and other religious organizations can't go. And so we are growing. We go a couple times a year on trips, and we are looking for more people to come along with us. And we hope to expand to working right here in Wichita too, to help the women and the girls here in our hometown.
Well, that's funny you just said that. I am familiar with Restoration Church and what they do in other countries, and they're absolutely amazing, and it's exciting to see what you're doing. when you say around the world, it's interesting how those women also relate to the women here. The same thing, the same exact things, and that was my question. You say around the world, is there an initiative here locally? And then my second question, I guess, is where can we buy the bags at? Because we would love to support you.
Thank you so much. So for the first question, we are currently working, like I said, in India, Kenya, and Rwanda. But we hope to grow and to expand and to do more here in town. We have done a few things. We have partnered with a few organizations and clothing shelters and food pantries to provide the disposable sanitary supplies for women here who may be homeless or fallen on hard times. And so we do smaller things here, but our heart, my heart really is to expand and to be the person that I needed, to develop a loving community here in Wichita for the women who also need a spark of hope. And as far as where to buy the bags, they are currently on our website, shehopes.org. I will tell you that we are almost out. And it has been so wonderful. This is the third set of bags that I brought back from a trip, but I'm going back again in the fall, and we will be bringing back more. And also, we will be partnering with a sewing group in Rwanda who make purses. They make beautiful purses. And so we will be partnering with them. These are women who are coming out of the sex trade. They may be single mothers with HIV, but they're going to make beautiful bags, and we'll be bringing those back too in the fall. Thank you.
Again, I love what you're doing. We've talked about it before, but I'm curious, what are your 3-year plan as to where you want to expand and how you kind of determine what area is in the most need?
Thank you so much. That is an interesting question because the idea for She Hopes happened, it came to me while I was listening to a friend of mine who grew up in southern India. Her parents are the ones who started the orphanage in southern India. And so she was here in the States for 6 months. We became good friends. And I just asked her question after question about what it's like growing up there in southern India. And she told me what it was like for these girls to be given up to the orphanage. And so She Hopes began by just wanting to do one small thing to help. Just one little thing. I had never imagined that 3 years later we would be in 3 different countries and doing what we're doing. And so it's really hard for me to go ahead and make a 3-year plan, but I'm actually working on that as we're establishing this nonprofit. Because I've said to people before, it's kind of like being on a roller coaster. You've got all the waiting and the building of the relationships and building the trust overseas and laying those foundations. And then once you're over the edge, you just never know where it's going to go, and you just hang on and enjoy the ride. So that is what it has been like for me. But as we're developing our own 501c3, we will be coming more serious about looking ahead and expanding and dreaming and hoping and working ahead. Thank you.
Great presentation.
Thank you.
What is interesting is all the questions so far that have been asked this morning have been from women. And there are many men in this room as well, we're not all bad guys. And we obviously also touched by your presentation as much as any woman would be. What is your outreach in these communities to the men who are to support you and understanding what you're trying to do with the young girls? This is not acceptable what they're doing. How do you reach to them? Because in the photos we saw this morning, they're just the women. But what are the men doing and how are you reaching?
I love that question. Thank you so much. First of all, I know that not all men are bad guys. I was extremely lucky, and I'm remarried to the most amazing man. And I have 3 amazing young boys. They're not young anymore, 2 are taller than I am. But boys and men are incredibly important to me. So when we go into a community, yes, this has been female focused, and the men initially are pretty skeptical of what we do. When we go into a school, the male teachers and the principals, they stand back, they wonder, are you going to be teaching our girls to be violent? Are you going to be teaching our women to go and just beat their husbands? But when they see what we do, I try to allow a male principal or a teacher or maybe a pastor from a church watch our self-defense, and they see that we are not doing that we're creating ways of escape. And they often come to me later and say, I wish my sisters had learned this. I wish that my daughter was here and she had learned this. But we also run into the fact that violence doesn't just happen to girls. We hear stories, heartbreaking stories, to this mama who has 3 boys, when I hear about what happens to little boys around the world too. But I also know that we could talk to the women and to the ladies and empower them and give them hope and teach them self-defense and teach them that they have autonomy over their own bodies until the cows come home. But until we start reaching the men and the boys, the future men of those communities, then this cycle will not break. We don't want this cycle to stop, we want it to break. Men come along with us on the trips. The men can teach the young boys self-defense if they are ever in a violent, dangerous situation. Or they can also talk to the men and to the boys about how to treat women, how to treat girls with respect, and start planting those seeds that girls and women have worth, they have value, they are not just an object to hurt.
That's amazing, Ginger. Thank you. Bringing this to us. I have 2 questions. One, I know there's a big cultural difference in these countries, so can you kind of touch on how you get past that difference and able to touch these people? And the other one is the funding. I know it's got to be expensive to travel and do this. Where does your funding come from?
Thank you so much. So about the cultural differences, one of the main struggles in what we've been doing the last 3 years is actually also one of the best things about it. When we are building relationships, when we are building trust with these communities, it takes time because they have seen Western organizations come in and just change everything. Or they have seen Western organizations come in and throw money at a problem, but then when that money is gone, the problem is still there and they haven't addressed the root needs. So we work with keeping in close contact with them, asking continually, what are your needs? How can I be thinking of you? When we go, we try to observe and appreciate the culture while we're there. I have worn a sari before, and when you have had 3 children, this part of your body is not seeing a lot of day in a long time. But we do these things to build the trust and to build the relationships, and it is slow work. I would love to go in and start a women's shelter right away. That has actually been in development since day 1. But it is going to take continual patience and love and just showing them that we are here for the relationships. We are not going to throw money at something, that we are going to empower you in the community who are actually already on the ground doing the good work, and then we will come alongside you to provide resources, or to provide education, or to provide thinking outside the box about what we can do in these smaller, more rural communities where we work. And then, secondly, the funding. So our funding comes from donors, from monthly donors, from one-time donors. Our funding for the sanitary supplies comes from the purses. We are hoping to have more job training in the other countries so that we can bring those items back and sell them so we can put the money directly back into that community. So as far as the travel goes, up until this point, that lovely man right there has provided for me to go on these trips. So far, for all of the trips, and as far as donations, my mother is here too, family has helped. But I've been to India 3 times, Kenya 3 times, and Rwanda once. And you're right, it is not inexpensive. But I will tell you that there is a moment in every self-defense class when a girl or a woman has a look in her eyes where there's just the switch is flipped, the light has come on, and they know that they could do this if they had to. And that look in their eyes, in one girl, in one woman, that right there is worth the price of the
All All right, and as a surprise, last question. That's another inside joke. What can we as the Wichita community do to help you?
I'm so glad you asked. Otherwise, this would be embarrassing. And so this was difficult for me to come up with because I am a person that it's hard for me to ask for help. But I want to come to you and just be open and transparent. Some of the ways that you can help are just to let us know as we grow, what are some of the ways that you see that we could help the women and the girls in the Wichita community, in our own backyard. You could tell others who are passionate about helping women and girls. You're right, there are a lot of men in the audience, and I hope that this touched your heart, but if there are if you know someone that is actually passionate about helping women and girls, please tell them about us. We would love to have them as part of the She Hopes community. As we're developing our own 501c3, I would love to learn from you, your expertise, if you have experience in the nonprofit world. One of my weakest points is fundraising and sales, because I don't like to ask for help, even though I believe so strongly in what we do. It is hard for me to actually make that ask. So if you have experience in the nonprofit world, in the sales world, in the fundraising world, I would love to learn from you. You could join the She Hopes community by following us on social media. And then lastly, if you are ever interested and you want to come and see these things for yourself, if you want to see our sewing classes, if you want to see these girls get sanitary supplies so they can stay in school, if you want to be kneed in the groin like I am when we take some trips, we would love to have you join our team and come with us on a trip. And even if this doesn't really touch your heart or move you, there are things in each of our lives that do mean a lot to us. So find that organization, find that nonprofit, find that cause or that charity that moves you. Because doing good and making a difference in the world is not as hard as it seems. It really is simple. You just have to start.